Thanks for joining us today on Big Talk. Here are your hosts, Cindy Miskew and Sophia Trujic.
Hi, welcome to Big Talk. Today we have a panel of guests, so we're going to jump right into our show. And we'll start with introducing our panel. We have Lori Papadopoulos, a 17-year veteran from film and television, and who was also involved in the very first casting call of The Bachelorette Canada. Next to her, we have Tammy Schrader, a piano and voice instructor who recently started her own career in acting and modeling. Then we have Allison Stevens, welcome. And she's a film editor as well as a filmmaker in her own right. And next to her, we have Kelly Hurst, who's a 35-year veteran in film and television and theater with a bachelor degree in theater from the University of Winnipeg. Welcome, ladies.
Welcome. Thank you. So right off the top, can you tell me at what age did you notice that you were not what people would consider the normal size?
We'll give each of you a
I
chance to
would
answer.
say starting in about grade 5 is when, because I was one of the first ones to develop. So I was a little bit larger and I went, oh my goodness. So I think that's when I started getting teased about my size then. That's when I'd say.
How about you, Tammy?
I was actually always taller in elementary, but then when I hit grade 6, I actually cracked my ankle and my bone went into my growth plate and I couldn't walk or run for about 6 months. And then I actually developed where it just spiraled from there.
Right.
And so by the time I actually hit high school, I was like 300 pounds.
Oh, no.
I was just tall, so then
Yeah,
I
you
carried
could
it differently. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about you, Allison?
There's never been a time that I didn't feel like I was overweight, and I didn't know that I was bigger. But I recently did a fee request, and so my health records show that the doctors were considering me obese at 3.
Wow.
3 years old, yeah. And actually I was like 9 pounds when I was born, so I was considered, there's records that say I was chubby at birth. And I think because I always, like there was always discussions happening with me present when doctors are talking to my mom about my weight, like I just always knew that there was something that wasn't right about me.
Wow. That's crazy. And how about you, Kelly?
Probably when I entered school, I was chunky for a kid my age, like 5 or 6 years old, and then I grew to my current size by the time I was about 11 years old, so by about grade 5 or 6. And like Lori, I also developed quite early. But then I stopped growing in height, so I had the double whammy of being not only heavy, but short as well. And I think I've gotten at least as much bullying and negativity from the height thing, which actually continues to this day. You would be amazed. I get it from strangers in the grocery store.
Really?
Yep.
How does that even, wow.
You'd be
Wow.
amazed. You would be amazed. But the thing is, people have their own issues
Yeah.
and they project.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So were you always considered big? And was there ever a time when you looked at people and thought, did you ever think of yourself as normal at any point?
Normal. You mean size-wise?
Yeah.
Or
What people would consider normal or skinny?
well, I don't like to be normal in any way.
So that's out of the question.
So that's out of the question. Yes, exactly. So I think with the bullying in school, as you probably all had that same thing happen to you. I decided that I don't want to be bullied anymore. So I think that's where I got my comedy from. I thought, I'm going to have friends by being funny. If you're not going to like me for my size, you're going to like me because I'm funny. And that's how it goes. And to this day, I don't care if you think I'm big or not, but I want to be funny. And that's what I was put on this world to do. So
Cool.
Don't know if that answered your question or not, but
Yeah. Yeah.
If I ever thought of myself as normal,
Yeah.
no,
No.
no. I think it wasn't
what people think
You know
of
what? It
as
wasn't
normal.
even just weight. Actually, I have a mom who suffered from schizophrenia,
Oh, wow.
and I actually even had kids, like parents, bullying me for having a parent that was suffering from mental illness. They would actually say, "You can't hang out with my daughter because
Your mom's.
your mom's weird."
Yeah. Your mom's
Like,
mental.
and people always treated me differently. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, when I started gaining the weight in grade 6, I mean, I lived on probably Oreo cookies and Kraft dinner because
Yeah.
my dad worked for the train, and that was a lot of times that was in the house. So,
Yeah.
I didn't really have, and my mom wasn't around a lot. So,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go blame my parents, but I mean, I did then end up gaining a lot of weight that way, and
Yeah.
and yeah, and then I was bullied all the time in school for it. Like through junior high, I mean, I would be called like Big Lord A and Mighty Heavy God and you name it. Like, and then girls would pick fights with me, and just yeah, it wasn't fun. Like,
Yeah.
but I really had to find but in some ways I was very thankful because it made me really look inward and find myself, who I was inside.
Right.
And really I really found myself, I would say, within the church and going to Bible camp and doing stuff like that, and really focusing on self-development as opposed to the outside.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, no, because I've always been, since I was young, I've always been significantly bigger than the other kids. But I think for a while I had just had the memory of being like, was I really that big? Which is why I did the FIA request to see. And so looking at the health records, like at 5, I was 208% larger than my ideal weight. And that just like, my weight went up exponentially. Like I kind of charted it out for myself. So by the time I was like 16, I was 318 pounds. And that did not change. And there was like sort of there's people who were concerned about it, but they did some testing and it never really went anywhere. And there was like also issues with not having consistent healthy food in the home. Yeah. But there's like interrelated issues there with the feminization of poverty, like having a single mom. My sister has a lot of medical issues, so my mom was often not home dealing with my sister's issues. And then there's like the physical fact that I actually was bigger, but way more significantly is the social fact that I felt like I wasn't right. Like I felt like that there was something wrong with me, and kids would tease me about it, and my, parents were concerned about it, and it was just that sense that like I'm not good enough and I can't control it. Like I think I came from a young age to feel like I was responsible for my own body and my weight, and then felt this like internalized shame because I couldn't control my weight, and yet everybody's telling me that my weight is bad. So that must mean that I'm bad. And it's taken me really until the process of making my film where I actually had to like look at these things to realize that I'm not defined by my body. Right. But my whole life I have felt that way.
Because people make us feel that way.
For sure. It's really hard even recognizing that like from a rational level and being like, no, that's kind of ridiculous. But it's still a process to be able to say like, no, I'm a great person regardless of what I look like.
Have I ever felt normal? Well, there's a loaded question. But because of my weight has yo-yoed ever since I can remember. I have been quite heavy. I've been up well over 200 pounds, which for someone who's not even 5 feet tall is at a dangerous level. But I've also been at a normal weight. But the thing is, even when my weight is down, I'm still short. So there's that. When I was growing up, there was no such thing as a size 16 or 18 petite. So I learned to sew, and so I became an accomplished seamstress designer. I designed for myself. I am currently wearing my brand. there's always the thing in the back of my mind. I know my mother she was very old school when it comes to like appearances was everything.
Yeah.
And she tried very, very hard to turn me into something that just was not going to happen. So it's been a journey. I know what it's like to be normal weight, but it didn't help.
Yeah.
It didn't help because there was still a fat girl inside.
We have a little video from Tammy that if you could introduce that, then we can pop it up.
Okay, I did a challenge last year where I through science-based six-pack abs through Thomas DeLauer's program. He's very well known all over YouTube. And so anyways, I had gone from a size 22 to a size 16 in 30 days with his program.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, and like I was back to, because I was actually in like pre-existing his program, I was actually almost back to my high school weight, and that freaked me out because I was like, how did I get back here? Yeah. I had an apartment fire actually, and then I started getting addicted to Rockstars because the air quality I think in my apartment was the greatest, and I was depending on them for energy, and I found out a slow oxidizer, hence why I gain a lot of weight. So I just packed on the pounds like nobody's business. So basically, yeah, when I found his program and put it together with proper sound like workout and nutrition, it made more sense, and my body finally took to something, so it was good.
So if we can play that clip.
This is Tammy Schroeder, a 37-year-old woman who has battled with her weight since she was in high school.
I've struggled with weight all my life, and when I was younger, I was actually bullied a lot for my weight. I would have never thought that I could reverse like a years of damage in 30 days. The science is amazing, and this program is amazing, and I wish I had this science when I was younger so I could have started this back then.
Oh,
Wow.
that's amazing. It's amazing.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
But
Yeah. So that's one way that you've tried to lose weight. So, and it worked,
Yes,
obviously.
yes.
How about any of you?
I've recently lost about between 50 and 60 pounds.
Wow.
I have, I got some guidance from an online, from a site online that I basically got a shopping list. What that did was it cut out all processed foods and cut way down on the sugar, although I do still like my frozen yogurt. But I don't keep any of it in the house. And of course, junk food is like verboten. And I don't keep any of that in the house. And it had me eating about 5 or 6 small meals a day. So like seriously, if you're hungry on this, you are doing it wrong. And I came down, when I actually started taking control of my weight, I was at 185 pounds. And I had already come down about 20, 25 pounds from a higher point. And I could tell by the way my clothes were fitting me and that kind of thing. So, but that's when I actually started taking control. And my most recent weigh-in, I was about 131. I would still, because I'm so short, I would still like to take off about 25, 30 pounds. But it's in a much better range.
Well, at my highest, I was at 415, and was, I think, like, it's just gone up since, I mean, like, if, you know, there's a steady incline, I think. So, at 415 is the highest. I started, like, swimming and, like, just, you know, watching what I was eating. I lost 50 pounds and have stayed pretty much at that range, so, like, 365 for more than a year. Like, I've kept that 50 pounds off. But it's a difficult thing because I spiral in and out of depression. I also have anxiety issues. And so I've maintained it that way, but haven't kept up like the active living. I'm also in a place where I'm less concerned about losing weight. I'm more concerned about coming to a healthy sense of self and accepting myself where I am. But I do want to be at a place where I can physically do the things I want. So regardless of the weight, because I can't tie my self-worth and my life goals and everything to my body. I just can't do it anymore.
I mean, there's a lot of fad diets out there and stuff online and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to pick and choose. I mean, you know, like trying this, trying that, Weight Watchers, this, that, Atkins. Like, how many have you tried?
You have to do a lifestyle change. It has to become a lifestyle change,
agree.
and you have to love yourself in any position that you are, whether you're whatever size you are. You can't change who you are inside, and if you can lose all the weight you want, and if you don't see yourself as beautiful, you will never think you're beautiful. You will be ripped and shredded, and you'll still think you're ugly and fat. Like, it's there's so much psychology actually behind weight loss. And I'm actually studying right now to be a personal trainer / nutritionist. And there's actually, I find more psychology behind our battle and struggle with weight loss than there is the actual physical thing, because there's so many foods that actually people don't realize, the chemical foods that we're fed, that play with your emotions, that play with your mind, that actually trigger those responses. So it's very interesting how food is actually, the more I'm studying it, is very correlated to how we feel and how we look at ourselves. And I think that is something that we need to actually start addressing so that people can start taking their health back.
So it'd be like a chemical, almost like a chemical addiction.
It is. It becomes, it's very chemical.
Wow.
That's why they say sugar is one of the most, it's almost as bad as a drug.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Because it's very
addicted to
addictive,
sugar.
right? And you want it and you crave it, and then it's like, if you don't have it, or then you get hangry and then you want it, and it's like
And irritable.
And it's all food, you know, it tastes good, right? So like those things that are healthy and don't taste good, we tend to not choose those because
They don't have
it's
the
got
same
that
taste.
sweetness, and it's like the sugar is a big factor in all that, for sure.
and taste, texture,
Absolutely.
you get used to the feel of something, or you get used to the taste of something.
Yeah, right.
And it's in your head, right? You don't want to break that, because it's a comfort. If you're going through something stressful, you want that beautiful ice cream on your
Or that
tongue, or
cookie,
that
that
chocolate,
cookie.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're also socialized. Like, I know when I was growing up, food was a reward. If you're good, then we'll go for ice cream.
Yeah.
So then not only am I then associating like that sugar with like something positive, so it makes me feel better, but it also then is my coping mechanism. So when something isn't feeling good, I know that sugar is going to make me feel better.
Yeah.
It's temporary and
But
it's
it
short
still
term,
works.
but it does work.
And
It's
it's
very
and
effective.
Yeah, it's extremely effective.
Well, my biggest challenge is when I go out to eat with friends, and it's hard to find a restaurant that really has good healthy choices, and to have that as a consensus with the group. So when I am at home and I'm not doing anything, seeing anybody, or going anywhere, I can lose weight. When if I have a life,
When you go
a
out.
social life, not so much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then what are you doing it for?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the film that I made is a short film, which really came from this memory that I had when I was 8 years old, when I was in school. And so this clip from the film is an excerpt of this. Sorry, this excerpt is talks about that experience I had when I was 8. And so what I did from that memory is then I made a few requests to access my health records, and I went through my childhood photos and my childhood artwork, and I animated them together, trying to figure out why I hated my body. Like, that was really the place where my whole life, I've hated being fat and I've hated myself. And then how do I overcome that? Where does it come from and how do I overcome it? So that's what the film is about. And this clip is that story of where it came from.
Okay, and we'll play the clip. Thank you.
I have a memory that's haunted me for years. When I was in grade 2, our teacher had us weigh ourselves in front of the whole class. At 8 years old, I was already very conscious of my weight. I remember sitting on the floor around the scale. I dreaded the moment when my name would be called. When the time came, I refused to move. The teacher seemed angry at my resistance and commanded that I get on the scale. I stepped up trembling and stared down at the numbers as they spun around, finally landing on a 3-digit number. All the kids in the class gasped. I sat down, not making eye contact with anyone. I was ashamed. I hated myself, and I hated that teacher. She thought it was acceptable to make a spectacle of my weight in front of the whole class. She had to have known that it would be a humiliating experience. But she did it anyways.
Wow.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you
That's-
had to go through that.
I'm sorry anybody would go through. And the teacher that did that should have been fired.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Like that's
It's crazy because I remember it being a math lesson, and I think there's got to be better ways than teaching math than making kids weigh each other. But also a friend of mine, when she saw that, she looked online, and there's actually teachers that still do that. Like there's still, it's incredible to me that there are still teachers that think that's acceptable to weigh kids in front of each other.
Well, it gives the idea that our self-esteem is something that we weigh on the bathroom scale.
Yeah, it's not.
And it shouldn't be, but a lot of times it is.
Well, I know myself, there's no way in this world I would ever let anybody see that number on the scale. To this day, I won't. There's no way.
Actually, some of the top fitness trainers in the world tell you to throw out your scale.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be going by the number on the scale. You should be going by how your clothes fit, the inches that you're losing, and your
they've
overall
said
health.
that for many,
Yeah.
many years. Yeah.
And on that, it's like I'm almost 60 years old now, and 130 pounds means a lot different now than it did, say,
Yeah.
15 or 20 years ago, or
Yeah.
even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I have a much different relationship with my body now.
Yeah. And as we age, our bodies adjust to all this stuff too. And it's harder to lose weight and be healthier as we get older.
Exactly.
Either you, most of the time when you do lose weight, it's because you're sick or something and you've got an illness of some sort, so you end up dropping the weight. But it's not generally because it's easy to do as we're older. It's harder and harder as we get older.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
That's why you did so well, Kelly.
I know.
That's
I know.
amazing.
thank you. Thank you.
It's absolutely stunning at what you guys have accomplished for yourselves.
I wonder how I'm still here. I could have been up to about maybe 220 or 30 pounds, and for someone who's only 4'11",
Yeah.
that's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at my age, how did I not have a heart attack?
Yeah.
Really, you cannot control what other people think about you. It's what other people think about you is none of your business, really. And I know it's hard when they're coming at you, but really, people project their own toxic waste. And whatever is coming out of their mouth is a reflection on them. Now, I'm at the point now where, especially because it's still very acceptable to tease people about their height, I'm at the point now where I ain't going to be nice about it anymore. You know, and you do have to, sometimes you have to delineate your boundaries or they'll just keep on doing it. Yeah, exactly. Depending on the situation, I kind of laugh it off a little bit, but usually with people I've known for like ever, and people that I trust who are not doing it out of maliciousness. But people who don't know me very well, I don't have that baseline of trust and respect. So a lot of times they have their own body image that they're trying to project, and it makes them feel powerful to pull me down. And good luck with that.
So
Look out.
I mean, we all have this weight issue, or at least I know I do too. So, anyways, but has there ever been a time where you got so down and you just, with bullying or just self-negative thoughts, wanted to do something drastic with yourself or to deal with it, like?
Whether it be suicide or
Yeah.
I've had issues.
Yeah.
When I was 49, I couldn't see past age 50. And interestingly enough, my weight was actually down at the time, but my life was still not where I wanted it to be. And 50 was a very scary number for me. I couldn't see beyond that. I couldn't see, I saw what was the last of my youth slipping away, and I didn't know what life looked like going into middle age. 60 is not a scary number for me. but 50 sure was. And I was really considering, I really was considering having a do-over.
Yeah, I mean, I've struggled with depression like really the majority of my life. In fact, when I was going through my journals at 11 years old, I say that I was thinking about suicide. Oh my God. And I know that at the time I actually remember writing that, and that was not the first time I'd thought it, but it was the first time that I'd ever like expressed it and written down. And then I felt like just this fear of even expressing it out loud. But I've never attempted suicide, although I often go through periods where I have regular suicidal thoughts. This is my history. Yeah. These are my emotions. But so many people relate to it in their own way, even if they're not morbidly obese, but they like have something.
It's the emotions that it evokes from every part of it. There's something somebody can relate to in some way.
I had a boyfriend many years ago, and he told me, if you gain any weight, we're done.
Oh, wow.
And, oh, well, I can't gain any weight. And we went out for 4 years, and I was terrified of gaining weight. And I finally just went, that's it. I had enough crying every time. It's like, oh, I can't. And every time we go out to eat, well, do you really need that? And I thought, oh, do I really need him?
I know there was something you wanted to add.
Yes, there is.
So I would give you the opportunity to read your little excerpt.
This is what bothers me right now. This is an IPA, which is an independent production agreement, that when a movie comes into Winnipeg, they know the rules. And this is an excerpt from this. The producer will not discriminate against any performer, including any background performer, because of age, ancestry, race, sex, citizenship, creed, color, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, blah, 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 as prohibited by law. In accordance with this policy, the producer will make every effort to cast performers belonging to all groups in all types of roles so that the composition of Canadian society may be portrayed realistically. And what's happening now in Winnipeg is there's productions coming in, and when the postings are posted by the casting companies who are told by production what they want, we all have to be fit and beautiful, young, fit, and vibrant, young and fit. And for a lot of us, we're not even able to apply for these because we don't fit those categories. And it says right there, for realistic, be realistic. And that is the one thing that gets me, and it frustrates me.
Wow.
I didn't read all the things, but the only thing they're missing is size, and it's not in there. So
they are able to say
those
things.
That is correct.
Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation and opening it up and helping to tell the stories.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you.
Here's to beauty of all kinds.
Thanks for joining us today on Big Talk. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Until next time on Big Talk.